And my last tip here is a little bit crazy maybe, or sounds crazy, but it's very effective. Hallo und willkommen. Ich bin Meister Lenze and you're watching Get Germanized. How to make learning any new language easier and why you should do it.
I am bored. What should I do?
Ich weiß.
Get Germanized.
The things you will learn in this video are why you should learn a new language, why it can be hard, and then I'm going to tell you, well, how to implement these language learning tips and what they actually are. And we'll have a message from our sponsor in this video that will also be very helpful and contribute to you learning a new language. For legal reasons, this whole video is marked as, well, it contains sponsored content, but it is not all sponsored, just this particular part. So keep that in mind. And well, let's get started with the video. Why anyone should consider learning a new language. Studies have shown that, well, learning a new language increases empathy in people, so the ability to feel for other people, to see things from their perspective. That is a skill that is not only useful, well, in your private life, but also when it comes to business, or really any interpersonal relationships that you have with other people. Furthermore, learning a new language keeps your brain active, lets it exercise, so to speak, and also keeps symptoms of, well, illnesses like Alzheimer's at bay, as studies show. Meaning that those people who actively use a new language and code switch between them will have these effects show later if they are prone to Alzheimer's disease. And that also applies to people who are illiterate. Learning a new language will help you see the world differently. It will connect you to different cultures in a way that you would have never thought of before. For example, Finnish people have about 40 words and expressions only for snow. And we Germans, well, we basically have a word for everything. No, but a lot of words for a lot of different things. And those things you might not even think about when you, for example, only know your native tongue. There's a definite link between language, culture, and cognition. Many bilinguals also become bicultural because learning that new language and kind of adapting that new culture to a degree at least makes you so much more culturally sensitive. Let's take myself, for example. Many of my friends from other countries who know me have said that I have become Americanized a little bit, and that is very much possible. Maybe not so much with the accent all the time, my German comes through, but just mentality-wise, I'm a bit more open than they expect from Germans, and just other things that I don't even have words for, to be honest, but I have been told this so many times that I am not your typical German anymore ever since, well, I intensely studied the language back in the day, and I still keep learning, obviously, but yeah, so that is a living proof that learning a new language will not only change your language skills. And this goes without saying, but of course, knowing a different language will open up a different market when it comes to business. You will be able to communicate with people, with business people from, well, that specific country or every country in which that language is spoken. For example, just take English. I mean, English, if you know English as a German, otherwise, if I only knew German, I would be isolated or at least limited to so few countries in comparison. But now that I know English, the world is my oyster, basically. I mean, I would have never traveled as much as I have in the past without knowing English. Never ever. And of course, if you know another language, your employer will most likely pay you more. There's been studies that show that, well, language learners, or those who already speak a second language or have learned it in the past, earn more. As simple as that. Also, recruiters and industry leaders see bilinguals or polyglots, so people who speak a lot of languages, just so much more equipped for, well, managing global affairs or just challenges that appear in those markets. There's many reasons to learn a new language, and I'd be interested what your reason was, or what your reason is to, well, pick up learning German, Spanish, French, or English, or whatever language you chose. Let me know now in the comments below before we go to our next segment. Why language learning can be hard? Well, the reasons for that are quite simple. Oftentimes, our adult human brains just get in the way. We often tend to overanalyze everything, especially us Germans, and that makes us miss the nuances in the language and doesn't always result in better outcomes. So take it easy, or try to take it easy, but I mean, our brains, like I said, sometimes just automatically work and work and work and work and just try to make sense of something way too hard. And like I said, we forget the details and as a result sound less native, if you know what I mean. We often just accumulate vocabulary without even knowing how to correctly assemble this vocab to a grammatically correct sentence. That is a problem. Because, I mean, you can say, dog, cute dog, eat, I want many things. Stuff like that, right? But that doesn't really, I mean, it gets you some places maybe, but you will most likely sound not very smart. So if you want to avoid that, try to learn the grammar as well. And my last point here is that if you learn a language that is vastly different from your own, it is much harder. Makes sense, right? Yeah. And again, little comment segment in between because I'm curious. Why do you think language learning is hard, or what makes it hard for you personally? Let me know. And next up, how to learn a new language. One tip that everyone will give you when it comes to learning a new language is use the language. But many people struggle with how to use that new language. And one of the cool ways that I have to show you today is the Lingoda online language learning school. People who are subscribed to this channel for a long time, so the Germ fam and the Germ elite, know what comes next. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the Lingoda online language learning school, and there's also a link in the video description that you can click on to just check it out yourself real quick if you're not interested in my babble mouth. But I promise you, you're going to learn some very interesting facts and helpful things to learn a new language, and well, also why you should consider using Lingoda as your resource for language learning. Specifically, if you're interested in learning English, business English, Spanish, German, or French. The reason I suggest Lingoda to people is mainly because, well, the positive experience that you guys had with them in the past during the Lingoda language marathons and all of that, but also just because it is a resource that you can use anywhere in the world at any given time. They have courses with qualified native speaking teachers that you can choose, well, whenever you like. They have them on the weekends and the evenings, again, whenever. Also, they have a structured curriculum, which means that you will learn what you need to learn when you need to learn it. Structured. And at the end of it all, you get a CFR recognized certificate, which you can show around, well, and include in your applications. And if you're worried about money, there are group classes starting from €8 per group class. So it's not all that much if you consider what benefits you will gain from learning a new language, like I said before. Also, another concern I know is that classes are too big, but that's not the case. Lingoda has very small classes, mostly like a handful of people, and that will make language learning more intense, of course, but also more effective, because the spotlight is on you more often. You have to talk, you have to do something, and that is a good thing. Also, they have a rotation of teachers implemented in their courses. That means, well, there's different teachers all the time. Rotation, yeah, okay. And that means you will reap the benefits of different people. Like, everyone has different qualities, right? And different things to teach you, in a certain way at least. And that way you will have all the benefits. That, of course, will result in your fluency being boosted immensely. I mean, all these different methods coming together in your brain. Of course, not only Lingoda, but everything I'm going to talk about in this video together, combined, is important. Every detail matters. And since every detail matters, Lingoda's teachers are, well, trained to focus on your motivation and to keep you learning the new language. Another benefit is that you will be able to make friends, because there's people from all over the world in those group classes, and you will be able to interact and speak with them. And if you're worried about limited content, well, don't be, because there's over 1,000 courses in total. It's crazy. You can even download the lesson material online from your student's platform to, well, learn with whenever you choose. And Lingoda, of course, had education experts develop this content and much more. Everything that you learn there, all the teachers are qualified experts. So don't worry about that either. Learning a new language will transform your life. I've said this before, I'm gonna say it again. It is so important to learn a second language. Many people don't realize it because they think, I'm not going to travel anyway, but the benefits outside of travel are greatly underestimated as well. So definitely consider using Lingoda as your language learning resource. You can even try it for free by clicking on the link in the video description. Then decide for yourself if it's good enough, if it's worth it, because I can tell you a lot, but in the end you will have to try and see for yourself if Lingoda is the right fit for you. Again, don't forget to use this beautiful voucher code and click the link in the video description right now. And let's now move on to the next part of the video. First up, get messy in your language learning. Don't just rely on one thing. For example, don't just learn vocab all the time. Doesn't make sense. Mix it up, use apps, use online courses, real courses, traveling, language exchange, anything you can think of really. Make mistakes. I can't believe I'm saying this or that it's not obvious, but you have to make mistakes to get better. Otherwise you will never learn. No one is perfect at first. And also don't care that you make mistakes. Get over yourself and use the language. That is the most important tip anyone can give you, not only me. Use the language as often as you can. I know it's not easy, but try to lose your fear of sounding silly. That is the best you can do for yourself. If you get over that fear, you have already won. Know your goals. Or if you don't have goals, make goals. Why do you learn? Why are you learning this language right now? What motivates you? What will be the benefit at the end of it? If you know those things and if you keep them in the back of your head, and every time a difficult situation arises, if you think of those goals and see like, oh damn, it's all worth it in the end, I better keep learning, then, well, again, you have already won. Also, focusing on areas in that new language that interest you and that will be beneficial to you in the end definitely helps as well to keep you interested and motivated. For example, if you learn German to become an engineer, why not learn engineering terms first and then the other vocab? Makes sense, right? Or if you just want to learn English to travel, learn travel terms, because that is ultimately what will get you more motivated and interested. If you're, for example, a travel lover and just want to use the language as a tool, well, just think of all the amazing things you can do and places you will see because of, well, your efforts and that language learning. I say this over and over and over in many of my videos, but immerse yourself in the language as much as possible. That doesn't mean dive underwater and learn a language. It means just have the language all around you as much as possible. Take cooking classes. If you, for example, want to learn French, take French cooking classes, right? In French. Learn cooking in French. You don't have to make French dishes. Anything goes, but in a different language definitely helps. Set your operating system on your phone or computer into that target language. Easy. Play games, maybe video games or board games in a different language, or motivate someone to learn with you and then use that language together in those situations. Motivate each other all the time. That definitely helps. You like to read? That's the easiest advice anyone gives you, right? Pick up a book in that language. Watch a movie in that language. It may not help you grammatically as much, but a little bit with vocab, and definitely keeps you motivated, I'd say. And stay committed, even if it takes longer than any online guide tells you. Because learning is different for everyone, and every language learner will get different results in different time spans. Some people are just geniuses at language learning and maybe you learn it in a couple of months or a year. Whichever language that is, it varies as well, depending on that, on the difficulty level of that language. And just because your brother learned German in half a year doesn't mean you have to complete the same task in half a year. Don't feel bad about it. Our brains are vastly different. Every human being is different. That is a fact of life, not only in language learning. Accept it and you will have a much easier time achieving your goals. Again, it's gonna be messy. Build meaningful relationships in that new language or using that new language. Make friends online or in real life. Go to, well, language course meetings or Facebook group meetings of people who learn that language as well, or who maybe are just in love with the culture of that country. Make friends. Meaningful relationships will help you because that gives this whole thing a whole new purpose, a whole new level of purpose as well. And I can't stress this enough. Use the language. Make it a goal for yourself to learn at least 15 to 30 minutes every day. I know it's easier said than done, but set an alarm on your phone, for example, in the evening, right before you go to sleep. Put your language books or whatever you use for learning nearby your bed stool or whatever you have there, your bedside table, and learn for 15 minutes. If you only have 15 minutes, learn 15 minutes. If you only have 10, learn 10, but every day. So the time will accumulate and the benefits will come to you sooner or later. My next tip is that you should consider carrying around a small dictionary, because every time you think of something in a certain situation but can't figure out the word, then you know it, well, almost immediately. Or use a translating app every time a situation arises in which you ask yourself, well, what would that mean in that language I'm learning right now? Because then you connect that event to a word. And every time a similar situation arises, you're more likely, much more likely, to remember that word because of, well, what you did before. Try to visualize that word in your mind. For example, we Germans have funny words like Schildkröte, which means shield toad and is a word for turtle. So I always, or I say others should imagine a little toad holding like a medieval shield. And then you think, oh, shield toad, oh, Schildkröte, damn. And we have many words that you can do that with, and other languages probably have some funny words as well that you can remember in a similar way, that you can visualize and then never again forget. And my last tip here is a little bit crazy maybe, or sounds crazy, but it's very effective. Talk to yourself, because that way you can use that new language all the time without having a language partner. For example, if you already have one, but they're busy, then just, have a conversation with yourself in that new language. Because at least you're using it. I, again, can't stress it enough. Learn the language, but also use the language. But because what good is it to learn something if you don't use it? If you're too scared? Just do it. And if it's talking to yourself, then it's talking to yourself. Who cares? Do it.
Just do it!
I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, please leave a like, please subscribe, activate the notification bell, and consider supporting me, well, here as a channel member by clicking on the join button next to the subscription button underneath the video, or becoming a patron on patreon.com/getgermanized. And you can help me the most by spreading this video to language lovers as well, so that we can help each other more and more and more in the future as well. You can also check out my social media in the video description. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, everything available, Twitter. And apart from that, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to get Germanized. Goodbye and auf Wiedersehen.
Just do it!